There's a way that Pokemon Go can stay relevant for several years, and I'm really surprised that Niantic has not tried this out. Now, before we get into today's video, let me tell you about a game that I've been playing. You've heard me talk about Shadow Legendary Raids in Pokemon Go, but have you heard of this game called Raid Shadow Legends? That's right, they are the sponsor for this video. Seriously, you need to try out this game. I'm sure you've heard of them by now, but now is the time to actually try it out. Download the game now for iOS, Android, or PC using the QR code that you see on screen. It's completely free to play, and you will get a bunch of epic heroes to start off. Raid is an epic free-to-play fantasy RPG with over 800 characters across different factions. Aside from the stunning visuals, there is so much content in this game. You could jump into a story mode campaign, crawl through dungeons, engage in PvP arenas, and take on some seasonal challenges as well. The game is similar to Pokemon Go in that you collect a bunch of powerful characters as you play the game, and you can power them up in a variety of different ways. But something that Raid does have that Pokemon Go does not is the ability to form clans and take on unique challenges with your friends. Believe me when I say this, the game is a lot of fun. Right now, there is an update for raiding the Cursed City, and you do not want to miss it. So what are you waiting for? Use my link in the description down below, or scan the QR code that you see on screen, download Raid Shadow Legends, join my clan in-game so that we can start raiding bosses together. And a big thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. Alright, now let's get right into the content. Hey, how's it going everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula. I hope you're having a good day and welcome to today's Pokemon Go video. So today I want to share an idea that I've had regarding Pokemon Go that would definitely contribute to its longevity. So there are a lot of games that are very similar to Pokemon Go where you collect a bunch of characters and you power them up. And I do think that one thing that Niantic did not implement in Pokemon Go that other games have implemented is the ability to prestige your Pokemon. So here is how prestiging would essentially work. Once you completely max out a Pokemon, you will then have the option to reset it, and it's going to be a much powerful Pokemon as you level it. It will return to level 1, and you will need all of the candy and Stardust to make it a max level Pokemon once again. But it will have increased stats every time you level it. So by the time you get it to max level, it's going to end up being way more powerful than the same Pokemon that's completely maxed out that hasn't been prestiged. Maybe Niantic will only let you prestige a Pokemon once, or they will let you be able to prestige it multiple times. Regardless, every time you prestige a Pokemon, it's going to be way stronger than it was before, therefore increasing the ceiling of this Pokemon's potential. This is essentially how it works in other games with prestige mechanics, and I do think something like this could work for Pokemon Go. I think this would be a great way to make this game last for several years. Just imagine, if you were to max out one of your Pokemon, you could essentially reset it and start it from scratch, but it will have a much higher power ceiling. This is something that a lot of games very similar to Pokemon Go have already implemented. If you have a whole bunch of Pokemon in your collection and you want to power them up to the highest possible power level, then you should be able to prestige those Pokemon, because I think a lot of players have certain Pokemon in their collection, like 100% IVs and Shundos, that they want to get as highest as possible. But honestly, with the game as it currently stands, that's not incredibly difficult. Like even for legendaries, if that legendary is in the raid rotation and you do a whole bunch of raids, you will be able to get enough XL candy to max it out. Once you hit that ceiling, the only way to make it even a little bit stronger is of course the Buddy Adventure system, but even then, it's not that big of a change for the amount of work that you have to put in. But I like the idea of you being able to reset that Pokemon, but increasing the ceiling of how powerful it can be. Think about this scenario. You have yourself a 100% IV Mewtwo, and you want to power it up as far as possible. You do a whole bunch of Mewtwo raids, or you do a whole bunch of legendary raids, collect yourself a bunch of rare candy XL, and then you max it out completely, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing else you could do to that Pokemon, and that's a real shame because that pretty much means there's no reason for you to raid any more Mewtwo's. Sure, considering that it is the best non-Mega and non-Shadow Psychic type, you can collect multiples of them and then power up those duplicates. That has kind of been the formula that Niantic has been using when it comes to longevity. But I don't think that necessarily works, and I think a lot of players at this point are finding that they're running out of Pokemon to max out. So why not have it so you could endlessly power them up by resetting them? I think having similar systems like what you see in games like Diablo 3, where you can continuously progress your character, I think that would be really good for Pokemon Go. I'm not necessarily saying that you should infinitely be able to power up your Pokemon, but this could be a great way to hit a higher ceiling for each of your Pokemon. Now, I know that there's going to be Pokemon purists out there that will say that a system like this is just something that you do not see in any Pokemon game, but let's be real here. Pokemon Go itself is a very different game from what you see with the mainstream games. So I think for Niantic to explore different options for creating some longevity would definitely be a bonus, and I think a lot of players would actually be okay with a system like this. Now, of course, there is the question of game balance, because there's going to be a lot of players out there who will be able to pay their way to a bunch of prestiged Pokemon and be able to solo raids and be crazy overpowered for the Master League. But I think if Niantic balances it well and sets a lot of limitations to those specific game modes, then I think a system like this could still flourish. I think if Niantic keeps up with the power creep, then it's going to be okay, especially when it comes to raid battles. Because if you're jumping into raids and you make the raids harder and harder but with better rewards, then it will be incentivized for you to actually prestige your Pokemon. It's really going to be up to Niantic, and I think if they put the effort into it, a system like this could definitely work. And I really would like to see something like it, because right now in my own collection, I have a whole bunch of 100% IV legendaries as well as Shundos, and I've completely maxed them out. I've unlocked the second charge attack, I've made them all best buddies, and there's really nothing else I could do with them, and I think that's incredibly boring. Like, for example, there's certain Pokemon like my Shundo Rayquaza where I want to do more with them. I want to make them even stronger. Sure, I could collect a lot of Mega Energy and continuously Mega Evolve them, but that's not really enough to keep me interested and invested in Pokemon Go. There's a lot of things that they could do to make players want to continue playing the game, and this is just one of the ideas that I'm suggesting that I feel like Niantic should try out. I think ultimately that's what the game kind of needs right now. There's just not a lot of motivating factors that gets players wanting to play the game. Like, every single event is starting to feel exactly the same, and when it comes to new Pokemon releases, there really isn't anything that is generating hype, especially within raid battles. Like, yes, we do have Origin Form Palkia and Origin Form Dialga on the way, but I don't think a lot of players are talking about them as much as they should be. I don't think they're going to be game-changing when it comes to the Master League or with raid battles, and I think because of that, some players are just straight up not interested in farming up every single one of them. And I think that's something Niantic needs to address. I think they need to implement something like this prestige system just to get players involved in the game, because right now it just seems like the game is in a very low state. Like, I don't think a lot of players are actually enjoying the game, and I don't think a lot of players are active in the game as much as they used to be. So Niantic needs to come up with something, and I think something as simple as this could definitely be a huge change for Pokemon Go, and I really hope they consider doing it. And look, I get it, the prestige idea is not a perfect idea, and I really do not think it's going to solve every problem that Pokemon Go currently has. In fact, I think there could be a lot of issues that come up with an idea like this, but I still think it's something worth trying out. Seriously, there needs to be something in Pokemon Go that will get me to actually want to play the game, because as of right now, there really hasn't been much. Like, a lot of the in-game events are just kind of lackluster, and I just don't feel that motivated, and I really feel like Niantic needs to try something new and fresh to keep players involved in the game. 2024 has a lot of opportunities for Niantic to try out a lot of cool things. I think last year they tried out a lot of different mechanics that they thought players would actually care about, but it turns out not a lot of players are interested in them. Party play was a cool idea, routes was a cool idea, but it just doesn't seem like they're hitting the right notes. But I think something like this would be a much better idea, and I think a lot of players would be down for it. Niantic, if you happen to be watching this video, I think this idea is worth trying out. That's just my opinion, but I think a lot of other players will agree. But in case, yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I just kind of wanted to share my thoughts regarding this one particular idea. Of course, this is not my personal idea, it's something that I have thought about, but I know there's been other people in the community that have suggested something like this. But I would love to know your thoughts regarding this idea down below. Is this something that you would like to see within Pokemon Go, or is it something that you feel would be very harmful for the game? Let me know those thoughts down below, and let's have a great discussion. Also, if you have some ideas for how Pokemon Go can improve, then I would like to hear those as well. And thank you so much for making it to this point in the video. If you ended up enjoying it and found it to be insightful, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if it's your first time here. And also don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to all all the patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, big or small, then make sure you go and check out the links in the description below. For all my patrons, they get a permanent spot on my in-game friends list. So if you want to interact with me in some way within Pokemon Go, like with remote raids or the friendship system, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. Also, if you want to support my channel in a different way, you could do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula, and I'm on the platforms that you see on screen. And yeah, with that said, that's going to be it. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch y'all later.